Hi, I'm Karen. We're here at Montevilla Sewing Center, and today we're going to talk about programming stitch combinations and using the memory on the Janome 6700. I love this machine. This happens to be my own personal machine. So I want to talk about, first of all, the stitches that you can do. You've got lots of decorative stitches that you can do. I'm going to show right there. There we go. Lots of decorative stitches, and then you've got lettering that you can do. Now, there's two different ways that you can get into specific stitches that you want. First of all, you got to get out of mode 1, because mode 1 is just these direct select stitches. You push one button and you get directly to that. Mode 2 includes all of the stitches that are in mode 1, plus it includes all of these other stitches. Now I push this button here because now we can look at the stitches on the screen without getting this guy out, or we could just say, hey, I want to have that stitch right there, which is that squiggly one, so I'm going to go 1, 5, 7. There we go. It's right there. Now, as far as using individual stitches, let's say I wanted one of these little diamond-looking things. That's 073, 073. If I wanted just one of those, I push the memory key, and there it is. Now, if I wanted that in combination with other stitches, then I would choose another stitch, say 133. There it is. Now, this is going to just show the individual stitches. It's not going to actually show how they're joined together. You would actually need to stitch out a sample. But I can tell just from looking at that, there's going to be a big jump stitch from the top of that down to where that begins. So these two stitches don't really go together that well. So to erase stitches, you can do it one at a time, or if you had, say, a whole bunch of stitches, I'm just choosing them at random here. There we go. If you wanted to erase all of that, you could just simply press and hold the clear key, and that erases your entire sequence. So let's start with talking about stitches that do go well together. So if you have baseline stitches or any of your lettering, they also join on a baseline. So say 123, got one of those, and 124. Memory, always push memory afterwards. Those two stitches are going to join together with just a stitch, and you're not going to notice any big jog stitches. I'll show you an example of that. So this one here is number 170, right there. Okay. And you can see there's a lot of jog stitches because I used the turnover, this mirror key, to try and get some variety. It didn't work too well. So it really is better to use stitches that kind of join together either in the middle or on the baseline. Now, if you're using the turnover key, it works really well for some stitches. I'm going to show you this little guy here. I'm going to clear all that out first. 171, this little sunflower here. If you want to do a repeat of that, say you wanted to do your turnover or your mirror key, I just simply push M a second time. Now, if I'm going to adjust this stitch, which I want to do that, I want to move this cursor back under the stitch that I want to adjust. That's what these arrows are all about. So we move that over there. That one, I want to turn it over this way. And with just doing that much, you can do an entire line of stitches like that. It looks really pretty. Give some variety to it. And if you keep pushing this, you're going to get it turned the other way, and the other way, and the other way. That's back to where it was at the beginning. But it shows you kind of right down here what part of the turnover you are on. And it just cycles through that way. Okay, so now there's something called bridge stitches. A bridge stitch is where you have, let's say like with your stars right here. If you had your stars stitches all right next to each other, so I'm going to put it up on the screen, 183. those are going to join right there at the points of the stars. But let's say you wanted a little bit of distance between those. Where those stitches join is right on the points of the stars. It's not on the baseline and it's not in the center. If I simply added stitches, say in the center, maybe using my 1 key or the bridge stitches or all these guys right here, the 135, what I'd end up with is it would look like this. It would jog down, make some stitches, come up, jog down. So what you want to do when you're putting a little bit of space between those is use the one that has the arrow that goes across. Now in this case it's going to give you 2 stitches. That's what that little 2 is. These stitches that have the arrow going across means the bridge stitch will adjust to where it joins naturally. And so here we got this right here. And see, that looks a lot better than the guy up above. And I could add additional stitches between those if I want to stretch it out. I could do that. And as I showed you before, the leaf stitch didn't work too well. So bridge stitches are also good for this. Now here I had made a little flower using 2 different stitches, the kind of the star stitch and the leaf stitch. But in this one, it kind of looks like the leaves are growing out of the top of the flower. So what I did is I did the star stitch, the leaf stitch, and then I added a couple of stitches right there. And now that looks much more like what we want to have it look like. There's also where you can combine your stitches, your decorative stitches, and your lettering. So I'm going to get into that now. I'm going to clear that, and that gets back into mode 2. Now when you're doing programming, it's only going to go from mode 1 to mode 2. You won't have the option of going, and from mode 2 to mode 3, sorry. You won't have the option to go back into mode 1 until you've cleared your stitches that you've done. So let's say, for instance, we wanted to spell somebody's name, put a heart at the beginning. I'm going to go with 151, memorize that, there we go. Now, to get into lettering, I need to go to mode 3. So now we're in mode 3, ready to do lettering. So let's flip this over. So in mode 3, I could go like this, and there's all my different letters and fonts, and here I can kind of scoot this ahead, and you can see there's lowercase and uppercase of different foreign language letters, and then we can get into cursive letters, and we can get into block letters. So I'm going to choose the block letter mode, and what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to go, well, I'll just go with baby, right? Okay, so I'm going to go with this, and you can use the stitch length button to go ahead, find which one you want, and choose it. Now I have that. Now, this seems a little cumbersome to be going from one thing to another. So what I like to do is I just go to the chart here and I say, okay, now I want a lowercase a. So 0, 2, 7, memory, there it is. So I'd rather use the chart. You could also use, there's a chart in the back of your manual too that you can use, but this is a nice handy one. So BABY 028, and Y is going to be 051. There we go. Then I'm going to go back to mode 2. Push the button. See, it goes right back to mode 2. And I'm going to put another little heart at the end. 151. There we go. Now, it disappeared because on the screen, there's not quite enough room to show the whole thing. So using the arrow keys, go back, there's this. Now it's got the whole thing here. You can start stitching in anywhere where the cursor is. I'm going to show you that. Okay. Sitting in a different spot. And it will start at the beginning. Doesn't matter where the cursor is. So, and it shows you right up here which letter you're on. Of course, you're going to want to be looking at your stitches here. Now, what I didn't do is I didn't put an ending stitch at the end. So what happened is, I'll show you here, it started over again. So because of that, what I want to do at the end here is put a locking stitch. So I'm going to, using these keys here, right here, 202 is your locking stitch. And with that, it would stop at the end of that last heart, do a locking stitch, and because I have, in settings, I have my automatic thread cutter. After locking stitch, it would cut the threads. Really nice, convenient feature. Again, to clear the whole thing, I would use the clear button, but let's say I wanted to, instead of spelling baby, I'd clear all that out. Whoops, don't want to clear that out. I'm going to go under, make sure that you have the cursor under the one that you want to clear. Maybe clear it from the beginning. And then I could spell something else, like doggy or whatever. So the stitch that you want to adjust should be under, the cursor should be under it or ahead of it. Like if I wanted to clear that one out, I could clear that one out. I'd say, oh, I'm going to 085, I'm going to just put another one there. Or ahead of that, either under it or ahead of it. So here I go like this, and it clears out the one that's this way. So what about editing something? Say you have spelled, say ABC 001, memory 002. Uh-oh, we're in mode 2. Okay, so I'm going to clear that out, and we're going to go to lettering. There we go. Clear that out too. Okay. 001, memory 003, memory 004, memory. Oh, I wanted to spell A, B, C, D. Okay, so I would go back here, moving, using my cursor, my arrow keys, and then I'd put 002. Notice that the cursor was blinking under the C. So when you add something in, it's going to be ahead of, or, you know, to the left of where the cursor is blinking. A lot of this stuff, you're going to just need to practice it, play with it, see what it does. And I always recommend you stitch out a sample before you stitch it on your final project, just to make sure that that's what you want to have it look like. Okay, so what about memorizing? If you want to keep this in your memory, in your machine, what you need to do is go over to the memory key right here, and now it has where you can put it in. There's memory, there's a place right there. I'm going to go like that. Oops, get out of that for a second. Okay, get out of that. Get out of that. That's not what I meant. Okay, so here, let me back up a little bit. First of all, in memory, I have several things, and you can see, you can page ahead. I've got that little stitch with the sunflowers on either side. If I wanted to take that out, I would go down here to 2, and there it is. Now I can clear that, clear it off my screen. In order to do that, you have to have the cursor blinking and just push your arrow key. I can clear that off the screen, but it doesn't clear it out of memory. It's still in memory. So I'm going to go memory, take it in or out. There it is. There it is right there. It's still in there. Okay. So if I'm going to put something in memory, make sure that you use these little prompts here on the screen. Let's go back. Let's get out of that. It says get out of that right there. And let's say we're going to go back into the ABC again. 1, 0, like that. Memorize. Okay, so now we want to memorize that. So we're going to put it into memory right there. Overwrite. Uh-oh, we don't want to overwrite anything. So let's get out of that. See, it says X right there. Okay. We want to find an empty spot. There's an empty spot. Now I'm going to put it in right there. I'm going to push the 1 button. There it is. And if you want to throw something away, get rid of something, then you would use the 3 key to get rid of it. So if I wanted to, and remember, you use the stitch width key to jump ahead by pages. Think about this. The zigzag jumps, right? So you're jumping ahead. The stitch just plods along one at a time, so you can go one at a time. And this was like, in case of emergency, please contact. It's my note from my teacher. Anyway, yeah, there we go. Okay. So I also have like, made by Grandma Karen, things like that. Okay, so to get out of this, we just push the clear key. And the clear key does not clear stuff in your computer, in your memory. You would use the 3 key to do that. And remember where it said overwrite? That meant that spot that you had chosen with the rectangle around it had something in it already. Maybe you do want to overwrite it, which means you're just getting rid of that and replacing it with the thing you already had on the screen. You can do that if you want, but it gives you a little warning. So that's another thing I really love about this machine. It gives you a little warning. It's like, are you sure you want to do that? And I can say, let's see, did I push the wrong button here? Yeah, I did push the wrong button here. You can get out of that and find a clear spot if you need to. Okay, so let's get rid of that there. And then I'm going to show you a little sample that I did last night. Here we have Handmade by Grandma. Handmade, that was done using this little stitch right here, 200. It has a little flower, handmade, and a little flower at the end. So I didn't have to stitch out those individually. It all did it. That is a single stitch right there. And then I had by using my block letters, and then Grandma using the kind of script letters. Now it doesn't show the script letters here, but that's what this the blue is. That's what that means. It's a little bit easier. There's also your 9mm wide letters, block letters down here, and these are these are more like 7mm, but your machine has a capability of doing 9mm wide letters. So if you wanted to do that, say I want to spell my name. So 411, and there we go. And that's my capital letter, but then I can go lowercase letters over here. The block letters that are 9mm don't have capability of doing the lowercase letters. You can just switch back to 027, memory R is 044, memory NE is 013, memory and N is 040, memory, and there's my name. So it's nice to have a slightly larger capital letter if that's what you want to do. I could still do this, which is more of a 7mm letter. Okay, so I think, back to the beginning. Now, I did mention before that you can have your cursor in any place here and start sewing. It's going to start right from the beginning. But let's say you started sewing and you had your sample out and you're stitching out and you decide, I don't really like that color of thread. So you want to start over again. You change thread, maybe into something with a little more pizzazz to it. You can use the back to the beginning button, and that will put you right back at the beginning of your stitch combination. You can also do this by pushing it repeatedly. You could go to where you wanted in the stitch combination and just stitch from that point on by pushing the back to the beginning button. So I hope this has been helpful to you. There are other things you can do, like lengthening your stitch. I think I showed you that in the basic overview of the machine, the buttons. You can lengthen, and this is for satin stitches. You can't do it for like decorative stitches that or letters like that, but it would be for satin stitches. It's kind of a nice, where it keeps your stitch density the same, but you can have it lengthened out. So, if this was a helpful video to you, give us a thumbs up. If you have comments or questions, you can leave them in the little area down below and we'll get back to you. Thank you for watching. We have other videos on this machine. This is a great machine. I really love this one. It's been my workhorse at home. So stay tuned for our other videos. Thanks for watching. Bye.